مرحباً بكم في قناتنا اسمع إنجليش. في هذه القناة نسعى دائماً لتقديم محتوى تعليمي وترفيهي بطريقة سهلة وممتعة. سوف تجدون هنا دروساً وفيديوهات تساعدكم على تطوير مهاراتكم وفهم المواضيع بطريقة مبسطة وواضحة. نحن هنا لنتعلم معاً خطوة بخطوة ونحول التعلم إلى تجربة ممتعة لكل مشاهد. لا تنسوا الاشتراك في القناة وتفعيل زر التنبيهات ليصلكم كل جديد، وانضموا إلينا في هذه الرحلة الشيقة.
Hi everyone. Today I want to share a story about a normal day that changed everything with just one small question. Let's see what happens. It was a very normal day. Nothing special happened when I woke up. The alarm rang and I turned it off slowly. I stayed in bed for a few seconds and looked at the ceiling. I didn't feel bad, but I didn't feel good either. I just felt tired. Not the kind of tired that comes after hard work, but a quiet, tired feeling inside. I got up, washed my face, and brushed my teeth. I looked at myself in the mirror, but I didn't really see myself. I got dressed and left the room. I checked my phone. There were messages, notifications, and missed calls. I answered some of them without thinking. Everything felt the same as every other day. I left the house and walked to the street. The air was normal, the sky was clear, and people were already outside. Some were walking fast, some were talking on the phone, and some looked tired like me. I waited for the bus and looked at the road. Cars passed by again and again. When the bus arrived, I got on and sat near the window. I looked outside while the bus moved. Shops opened their doors. People bought coffee. Others hurried to work. I felt like the day was moving fast, and I was moving with it, but I didn't feel present. At work, the hours passed slowly. I did my tasks, answered emails, and spoke to people. I smiled when I had to. I said yes many times. Inside, I felt empty. When the day finally ended, I felt relief, but also more tired. I walked back home the same way I always did. Near my building, there was a small park. I passed by it every day, but I never stopped. That day, for no clear reason, I decided to sit for a few minutes. I sat on a bench and looked down at my hands. My shoulders felt heavy, and my breathing was fast. I didn't notice anyone around me. I was lost in my thoughts. After a moment, something touched my foot. I looked down and saw a small ball. I looked up and saw a child standing a few steps away. He was waiting. I picked up the ball and gave it to him. If you have reached this part of the story, take a moment and just relax. Don't worry about likes, shares, or subscribing right now. I just want to talk to you for a few seconds. I have a question for you. What story should I make next? What idea do you think could be interesting, fun, or inspiring? Write your suggestions in the comments. I would love to read every single idea you share. Maybe one of your suggestions will become my next story. Imagine your idea could be the story I tell in the next video, and we will explore it together. So please, take a little time, think of one idea, and write it below. I really can't wait to see your creativity and choose one of your stories for the next video. He smiled and said, "Thank you." His smile was simple and honest. Then he looked at my face for a moment, like he was thinking. Suddenly, he asked me, "Why do you look tired?" His voice was calm. His words were clear. The question was very simple, but I felt frozen. I didn't answer. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to say that work was hard, or that I didn't sleep well, or that life was busy. But none of these answers felt true. The child didn't wait for my answer. He ran back to play, laughing and calling his friends. I stayed on the bench and watched him from far away. His question stayed in my head. Why did I look tired? I asked myself the same question again and again. I started thinking about my life. My days all looked the same. Wake up, go to work, think about problems, come back home, sleep, repeat. I realized that I was always in a hurry, even when there was no real reason. I was always thinking about the next thing, not the moment I was in. I remembered how I used to be before. I used to enjoy small things. I used to walk slowly. I used to listen to music and really hear it. I used to laugh without checking the time. Somewhere along the way, I stopped doing these things. I didn't know when it happened, but it happened slowly. I looked around the park. People were sitting and talking. Some were smiling, some were quiet. The trees moved gently with the wind. The world didn't feel rushed there. I took a deep breath, then another one. For the first time that day, I felt a little calm. I stayed on that bench longer than I planned. I didn't check my phone. I just sat and watched. When I finally stood up to go home, my body still felt tired, but my mind felt lighter. At home, I didn't turn on the TV. I didn't scroll on my phone. I made a cup of tea and sat quietly. The child's question came back to my mind one more time. I finally had an answer. I looked tired because I was living too fast. I was doing many things, but I wasn't resting. I wasn't listening to myself. That night, I went to sleep earlier. The next morning, the alarm rang again. It was another normal day. Nothing magical changed, but I did. I moved slower. I breathed deeper. And I understood that sometimes a very small question from a child can change the way you see your whole life. Before you leave, take a few seconds with me. I want to ask you 3 simple questions. Do you feel tired even on days when nothing bad happens? When was the last time you slowed down and really listened to your body and your mind? And if a child looked at you today and asked, "Why do you look tired?" what would you honestly answer? Share your thoughts in the comments. Read what others write. And remember that sometimes a small question is enough to change the way we live.